You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. I'm Roby Brock.
And I'm David Goins. We're joined this Sunday morning by 2nd Congressional Congressman Tim Griffin. Mr. Griffin, you're the first person to appear twice on Capitol View in our infancy, so we appreciate you joining us this Sunday morning once again. First question off the bat. On Tuesday, the Obama administration basically decided to put off one of the key provisions of the Affordable Care Act, which is the penalties that would be assessed to businesses from January 1 of 2014 to essentially January 1 of 2015. Kind of your thoughts about that decision?
Well, I think it's a recognition that there are problems with this law, and I think also this is a political move. They wanted to take the implementation of the employer mandate and the penalties that go with it. They wanted to take that and kick it past the 2014 election. It's pretty clear that's what they're doing. I think for me, it's another indication that this is a flawed law. What about the individual mandate? He didn't say anything about that. And what's unfair there is individuals have been speaking out on this. They don't have the money to lobby and go to D.C. and take a team of people to influence the administration. I think they ought to just postpone all of these mandates and let's talk about a better way to get to the same result with a new law.
But postponing all those mandates means slowing down the development of the exchanges, which is going to give people more options for health insurance coverage. There are still pieces and moving parts to the federal health care law that are going to go forward and move on. I talked to Insurance Commissioner Jay Bradford on Tuesday. He said he was relieved that the employer mandate had been pushed off because he didn't think that employers were going to be ready to deal with the regulation and the paperwork. So why not I guess why not view this as a positive thing?
Well, it is positive. I just wish the whole thing was postponed. Not because we don't have a problem. We do have a problem. We need health care reform. But as many of us have said, a top-down approach that dictates all of the rules from Washington is not the way to do it. And I think that ultimately, I hear what the insurance commissioner said. He said, they're not ready. They're not going to be ready. They're not going to be ready. Businesses aren't going to be ready for this in 2015.
Why wouldn't they be? I mean, because half of it was the exchanges, the other half was this penalty. Well, and it sounds like they've broken the pie into two pieces. Let's let the exchanges get rolling for a year, and then maybe by 2015, okay, employers are ready.
Well,
why wouldn't that work?
Well, you can ask them because they're the ones that tell me this is a nightmare law, and their premiums are going up. What they've got to pay is going up. And there are other companies that are right on the edge of the 50 employee threshold that right now, under the law, won't have to provide health care. There's one here in particular. There's a young Hispanic man. He has several franchises, and I won't tell what the franchises are, but they're growing like gangbusters. And he's right at the 45 employee point. He flew to Washington. He met with me here. He met with me in Washington. He told me that he is slowing his growth, stopping his growth, so that he does not hit the 50 employee threshold so that he doesn't have to take on all those burdens. In fact, he came to me and said, will you help me push for a bill that would move it from 50 and up, 50 employees and up, those employers have to provide health care, to 250 and up. But so we're looking at these options. My point is, if you talk to the people affected, yeah, it's welcome that they're going to delay it. Absolutely. But the problem's not going to be solved by the delay. That's my point.
Do you think that the Obama administration should have done something different? There's been some argument out there that the law says that they shall meet certain mandates of the law, and some people are arguing that that means that they can't do this by this regulatory postponement. Should they have done it a different route? Well,
we've got to look into that. Let me be real clear. Anytime we're postponing the implementation of some of these burdens, that's generally a good thing. But again, the individual mandate's not affected. We do have to look how they did it, because the idea that Congress passes a law requiring something, and the president can just willy-nilly say, I know the law said it's due on this day, but I'm going to push it off. That, unless there's something I'm missing, there's a real legal problem there, meaning that's not the way it works.
Should they have come back to Congress and asked for a postponement?
Look,
would you have supported that?
I think they should have come to Congress and said, this law's got major problems. We need to fix it. Will you work with us? And I think there'd be a lot of people willing to, with a lot of ideas on how to change this law. You know, we've wanted to repeal it, but in the absence of that, we have passed some changes, like the 1099 repeal. A lot of us want to repeal the medical device tax, which is passed down to consumers. So we need to look at the authority that I'd like to see the memo from the legal counsel on why they decided to do this, and but it's interesting, the idea that the president can just sort of
you don't think it
change
was
the law.
an offhand decision. I mean, you assume, or can you assume this is something they were probably looking at for a while? And
well, no, I'm sure they were, but that didn't make it legal. They also changed the work requirements under welfare reform that President Clinton signed, where they could be waived for the states. I also don't think that's legal, and as a result, Ways and Means Committee, we passed a bill to make it abundantly clear that, hey, it wasn't legal before, but we want to just let you know it's not legal. So just because someone does something and says they have a good legal opinion, look, I'm a lawyer. You can get a lawyer to argue any side. Doesn't make it right.
Sure. Just trying to clarify whether it was a last-minute decision or not.
Oh, no. I think this has been in the works for a while. Make no mistake about it.
Before we go to break, let's transition kind of quickly to immigration. Obviously, the Senate passed their bill a little more than a week ago. It's kind of now in the House hands as we move through the month of July. How does this play out in the House?
Yeah. Well, I have made it abundantly clear that I believe we need immigration reform. Not just for those who are here illegally, but for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, so we can have the best minds here. There are a lot of different problems with our system. As you know, over the last few years, the House has passed a lot of bills, sent them to the Senate, where they sit and die. So we do have, under our Constitution, two separate independent bodies. The House is working on immigration reform. We will have our own bill.
There's going to be one bill or a bunch of little bills?
It'll be a number of bills, but I confirmed the other day that we can collectively send them to conference. But I think that we will have a number of bills that deal with border security, which is a weakness in my view of the Senate bill, that deals with the pathway. Is it a pathway to legal status or to citizenship? So
let's come back and talk a little bit more about this. We got to take a quick commercial break. We're with Congressman Tim Griffin. When we come back, he sits down with us for another round. I'm Roby Brock alongside David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning on KARK.
I don't think it's going to be an easy conversation because they are very strong-willed. I think it's going to be important to us that we know that you're somewhere in a facility that looks after you, has compassion, has care, and you respect it. I mean, I'd love to look after them. I'd love to be able to take care of them, but I don't think I could. That'd be a wrong choice on my part.
Arkansas's skilled nursing and assisted living centers provide quality care for our seniors.
The Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas. The State Chamber AIA is the leading voice for business at the state capitol and serves as the primary business advocate on all issues affecting Arkansas employers. Our mission is to promote a pro-business, free enterprise agenda and prevent anti-business legislation, regulations, and rules. Now more than ever, business matters. Learn more at arkansasstatechamber.com.
Welcome back to Capitol View. I'm Roby Brock alongside David Goins. We are joined by Congressman Tim Griffin. Congressman, let's pick up on what we were talking about right before the break there. We were talking about immigration reform, how the House may handle what the Senate has already passed. Do you support a pathway to citizenship for those who are here illegally?
I support a pathway to legal status. And once they are legal, those individuals, then they can get behind the people who have been here legally, following the rules. and they can pursue citizenship. I do not support an automatic guarantee or streamlining of the process separate from the people who are following the rules. That area and the border security area, those are the two areas I think a lot of people have problems where a lot of people have problems with the Senate bill. And I think that you will see something that addresses a lot of the criticism that you saw of the Senate bill. I mean, look, Marco Rubio was for the Senate bill, then he was against the Senate bill. He said he might oppose the bill that he was for, and then he finally voted for it. I think that reflects a lot of the criticism of that bill. And our own Senator Bozeman opposed it, and I think for good reason. Again, I am for immigration reform, but we've got to get it right. And I would point this out. We tried this in 1986 under Reagan, and while it was well-intentioned, the reason we are revisiting it is because we never fixed the border. And if you say that we're going to pass a law and everybody that's here now is grandfathered in, if you don't fix the border, 10 to 15 years, we'll be right back here again.
I don't want to belabor this point too much further, but what does it mean, fix the border? I mean, that's a very vague statement.
Sure.
Fix the border means what to
Sure.
you?
Let me tell you what it means. Yes, it means more resources, and the Senate did address some of that. But it also means an objective measurement, a metric of what a secure border looks like and how we can objectively measure it. You can't have a standard by which the Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, just says, I declare the border secure. Well, that's completely subjective. You could have the next Homeland Security Secretary say it's not secure, and the next say it is. You need an agreement on what the standards are and how we're going to measure this so that you take the politics, for the most part, as much as you can, you take the politics out. How many people have been apprehended? What's the drug flow like? What's the human trafficking problem like? There are all sorts of types of data that the Border Patrol and Homeland Security track. We need to get an agreement as to what constitutes what we believe is a secure border and make sure we meet that. You can't just say we're going to throw more money at it, but we don't know what the standard is that we're looking to achieve. You can't do that.
Okay, well, and you kind of answered the metrics and data point. I mean, it's hard to do when you're dealing with people, but it's, there's a starting point there. Let's transition a little bit to Mayflower. You talked to Exxon back in May about perhaps moving the Pegasus pipeline. Right. Still don't know what caused the oil spill, what caused the rupture.
That's right.
Have you heard from Exxon? Is that line going to move?
Yes. In fact, I've spoke with them yesterday and last week. My office, we got a letter about a week and a half ago from the Department of Transportation. So this is an active issue. My staff and I have been actively reaching out to the other people, the other stakeholders, the county judge's office, Central Arkansas Water. And there's several things going on here. First, you have the Mayflower issue, and then you have the issue of moving the pipeline.
Do you think the pipe moves?
It's going to be a long fight, and we're going to look at every option we've got to get it moved, and this will be a collective effort. But let me say this too. I think that we did get some documents from PHMSA. That's the regulatory agency under the Department of Transportation. And those records sort of indicate what the inspection history is with a lot of data. The problem is the data is extraordinarily technical.
Right. And
so we are getting a briefing to help us interpret this data. So this is an ongoing deal, and we just got to keep pushing. I talk regularly with some of the folks who were evacuated and talked to one about 3 days ago. He and I stay in pretty close contact, and so we're working through some issues. One of the issues, I'll be real upfront with you about, one of the issues I've heard is that, look, they got stipends or they got money from Exxon for their inconvenience and what have you. I think some of them received $10,000 for their trouble and displacement and inconvenience and what have you. And the issue has come up, well, how's that going to be treated tax-wise? So we reached out to the IRS, and I think a lot of people, most of that money, the IRS wants to tax. Well then, if you receive $10,000 and you're going to pay $3,000 taxes, you really didn't receive $10,000. So that's something I'm working through, and I certainly could introduce a bill in the Ways and Means Committee. We're looking at that, but the chances of that becoming law would be slim.
We got about 30 seconds left. Let me ask you one last quick question on a different subject. Supreme Court overturns the Defense of Marriage Act. Is Congress going to seek a new version of that law, or do you think they live with the results?
I think on the federal DOMA side, I think that it's pretty clear from the opinion on that particular point. I haven't heard anybody talk about a replacement bill. I will say that if you look at the opinion, and Scalia's dissent was pretty dead on this, I thought Justice Kennedy's opinion was very muddled. But I'd like to remind folks that the state laws remain in place
for now
and unaffected.
Sure. I mean, obviously, we already had the court challenge earlier this week, so certainly this is probably an expected thing.
That's right.
Congressman Griffin, I appreciate you joining us on Capitol View.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I've been on twice.
We'll do the hat trick probably before you know it.
You couldn't get anybody else to come on.
No, come on. They're lining up outside the door.
That's right. Thank you very much
Thank
for being
you.
with us. We're going to be back to wrap things up right after this. I'm Roby Brock alongside David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning on KARK.